The galaxy had always looked down on humans. For 120 years, since the first Earth ships crossed into the stars, the older races had treated humanity like children, playing in a garden that did not belong to them. They were small. They were weak. They lived such short lives. What could they possibly offer to civilizations that had conquered space when humans still lived in caves? Admiral Tai-Ho Park knew this feeling well. He had spent 40 years in the United Earth Fleet, rising through the ranks while alien commanders laughed at human ships. He had attended diplomatic meetings where representatives of ancient empires refused to even look at him. He had swallowed his pride 1,000 times because Earth needed peace. Earth needed time, but time had run out. The message from the Corvani Empire arrived on a cold Tuesday morning. High Overlord Veth, supreme ruler of half the galaxy, appeared on every screen across human space. His face was gray and scaled, his eyes like black pits that held no warmth. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of a civilization that had crushed hundreds of species beneath its heel. "Humans of Earth," Veth said, "you have expanded too far. You have taken worlds that belong to the Corvani Empire. You will surrender the colonies of New Bizown, Haven's Gate, and Prosperity within 30 days. If you refuse, we will take them, and we will take everything else you have built. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Across 14 star systems, 8 billion humans waited to see what their leaders would do. Ambassador Sujin Choi stood before the Galactic Council 3 days later. The great chamber was filled with representatives from 200 species, beings of every shape and color imaginable. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Others perched on branches designed for their bird-like bodies. All of them watched the small human woman with expressions ranging from pity to amusement. "The Corvani have threatened unprovoked war against Earth," Sujin said, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "We have broken no laws. We have honored every treaty. We ask the Council to intervene, to call for peace, to stand with us against aggression." The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Elder Null, leader of the neutral faction, and a being who had lived for over 2,000 years, rose to speak. His body was thin and translucent, like a ghost given form. "The Council sympathizes with humanity's position," Null said slowly. "But the Corvani Empire is a founding member of this body. Their military strength ensures stability across the galaxy. We cannot risk war with them over border disputes." Sujin felt her hands shake. "Border disputes? They are threatening to destroy our colonies. Millions of innocent people. The Council votes to remain neutral," Null continued, as if she had not spoken. "We encourage both parties to find a peaceful solution. No other species spoke in humanity's defense. Not one." Sujin returned to Earth with nothing but empty words and hollow promises. She told Admiral Park and the United Earth Council what had happened. She told them that humanity stood alone. "Then we stand alone," Admiral Park said quietly. "We have prepared for this day. Perhaps not this enemy, but this situation. Let them come." But the Corvani did not wait for their deadline to pass. 2 weeks before the surrender date, Commander Thren led a fleet of 200 warships into the New Bizown system. The colony had 4 million people. It had 3 defense stations and 12 patrol ships. It had families eating dinner, children doing homework, workers coming home after long days. It had no chance. The attack lasted 6 hours. Commander Thren was thorough. The defense stations were destroyed in the first 10 minutes. The patrol ships fought bravely and died quickly. Then the Corvani turned their weapons on the planet itself. They bombed the cities first. Great beams of energy fell from the sky like the anger of cruel gods. Buildings melted. Streets turned to rivers of fire. People ran, but there was nowhere to run to. The Corvani ships circled the planet like predators, burning everything they could see. When it was over, 4 million humans were dead. Not soldiers, not warriors, families, children, old people who had come to the colony to spend their final years in peace. All of them gone in 6 hours. Commander Thren broadcast the destruction across every channel in the galaxy. He wanted everyone to see. He wanted everyone to know what happened to species that defied the Corvani Empire. This is the fate of those who do not kneel, Thren announced over the images of burning cities. Humanity has 30 days to surrender, or every world they possess will look like this. On Earth, Admiral Tyo Park watched the broadcast in a room full of generals and admirals. No one spoke. On the screen, they could see the broken bodies of their people, the ruins of a city that had taken decades to build. When the transmission ended, one of the younger officers slammed his fist against the wall. "We have to respond. We have to do something." Admiral Park did not move. His face showed no expression, but those who knew him well could see something in his eyes. Something cold, something ancient, something that had slept inside humanity since the first human picked up a rock and decided not to run from the predator hunting them. "Contact Project Prometheus," Park said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Tell Dr. Beak to prepare everything. Activate the Black Fleet. Send word to General Lim that defensive operations are canceled." "Sir?" the young officer asked, confused. "Canceled?" Admiral Park finally turned to face his people. "We are not going to defend ourselves," he said. "We are going to make them regret the day they learned our name. They wanted our attention." He paused, and for just a moment, a terrible smile crossed his face. Now they have it. That night, across the solar system, lights that had been dark for decades began to turn on. Hidden bases opened their doors. Ships that no one knew existed powered up their engines. And 8 billion humans, who had spent a century being told they were weak and small and unimportant, began to prepare for war. The Corvani thought they had sent a message at New Bizon. They thought they had shown the galaxy what happened to those who resisted. They were wrong. They had not sent a message. They had made a mistake. The worst mistake any species in the history of the galaxy had ever made. They had given humanity a reason to stop being peaceful, and the galaxy was about to learn why that was the most terrifying thing imaginable. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a facility that appeared on no map and existed in no official record, Dr. Minho Beak had worked for 30 years on something that was never supposed to be used. Project Prometheus was humanity's darkest secret, born from the fear that one day the galaxy would try to destroy them. That day had come. Dr. Beak stood before the United Earth Council in an underground bunker, surrounded by screens showing technology that would make any alien scientist weep with disbelief. He was a small man with gray hair and tired eyes, but when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of decades of hidden work. "When humanity first entered the galactic community," he began, "we quickly learned an important truth. We were not welcome. We were tolerated because we were weak, because we posed no threat. Our leaders at the time made a decision. Let them think we are weak. Let them ignore us. And while they laugh at our short lives and small ships, we will prepare." He pressed a button, and the screens changed to show massive shipyards hidden inside asteroids. "The Black Fleet," Dr. Beak said. 500 warships, each one more advanced than anything flying in the galaxy. We built them in secret over 90 years. We developed weapons no other species has imagined. Kinetic accelerators that fire projectiles at 40% of light speed. No shield in existence can stop them. FTL jammers that can trap an entire fleet in normal space, unable to escape. And ... He paused, biological agents designed specifically for Corvani physiology. We hoped we would never use them. But we have them. The council members stared at the screens in silence. They had known about Project Prometheus in theory, but seeing it, understanding its true scale, was something else entirely. How soon can the fleet be ready? Admiral Park asked. It has been ready for 20 years, Dr. Beak replied. We were just waiting for a reason. Across human space, the awakening had begun. General Hannah Lim stood on a platform overlooking the largest military base on Earth. Before her, stretching to the horizon, stood 2 million soldiers in perfect formation. Behind her, massive screens showed similar gatherings on every human world. 200 million soldiers total, the combined might of a species that had spent a century being called weak. She was called the Iron Lady, not because she was cruel, but because she never broke. She had served in every conflict humanity had faced since joining the galaxy. She had buried friends and watched colonies burn. And she had never stopped believing that this day would come. Soldiers of Earth, she said, her voice broadcast to every human military installation in existence. You know what happened at New Bizan. You have seen the bodies of our brothers and sisters. You have watched the Corvani laugh as they murdered 4 million innocent people. She paused, letting the anger build. We did not start this war. We did not want this war. But the Corvani have made a terrible mistake. They think we are prey. They think we will run. They think we will beg. Her voice rose. They are wrong. We are not prey. We are not victims. We are humanity. And today, we remind the galaxy what that means. 200 million voices rose in a roar that seemed to shake the stars, themselves docked in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The Black Fleet emerged from its hiding place. 500 ships of gleaming black metal, each one shaped like a blade, pointed at the heart of the enemy. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the flagship, a vessel named Earth's Vengeance, and watched his fleet form up around him. Admiral, his communications officer said, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. News services, diplomatic channels, military observers. They're all asking the same question. Where did these ships come from? Park smiled grimly. Let them wonder. For now, Captain Yuna Kang received her orders in a small briefing room on Luna Station. She was 34 years old, the youngest captain in the fleet, and she commanded the stealth destroyer Nightfall. Her ship was special, designed for missions that officially never happened. Your mission is simple, Admiral Park told her via secure channel. Take your squadron into Corvani space. Get close to their homeworld. Learn everything you can about their defenses. And when the time comes, be ready to act. Understood, Admiral, Yuna replied. How far am I authorized to go? As far as necessary, Captain. The rules have changed. Do whatever it takes. Yuna nodded. She had lost an uncle at New Bizan, a cousin, 3 childhood friends. She would do whatever it took. Lieutenant Jae-yoon climbed into the cockpit of his new fighter and felt like he was sitting inside the future. The craft was called a Ghost, and it was unlike anything he had ever flown. It could turn faster than physics should allow. Its weapons could punch through shields that stopped conventional attacks. And it was almost invisible to sensors. He was the lead pilot of the 7th Strike Wing, 48 of the best pilots humanity had ever produced. They had trained for years in simulators, preparing for a war they hoped would never come. Now it was here, and Jay felt something strange in his chest. Not fear. Anticipation. All wings report ready, he announced over the comm. We launch in 6 hours. The Galactic Council received a transmission from Earth at precisely midnight Galactic Standard Time. Every channel, every frequency, every screen in Council space displayed the face of Admiral Taiho Park. "Members of the Council," he said, his voice calm and cold. 20 days ago, you chose neutrality, while the Corvani murdered 4 million of our people. You chose to look away while our cities burned. We understand your decision. We do not forgive it, but we understand it." He leaned forward slightly. "What happens next is not your concern. This is between humanity and the Corvani Empire. We ask nothing from you. We expect nothing from you. All we require is that you stay out of our way. Any species that interferes will be treated as an enemy. This is not a request." The transmission ended. In her ship, orbiting a neutral station far from the conflict, observer Kiva recorded everything. She was a historian, a member of an ancient race that had watched the galaxy for thousands of years. It was her duty to document great events, to preserve the truth for future generations. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had watched species conquer and be conquered. She had documented wars that lasted centuries and peace that lasted longer, but she had never seen anything like this. "Note for the record," she said into her recording device. "The humans have revealed military capabilities that exceed all projections. The galactic community estimated their fleet at approximately 100 vessels. They have revealed 500, with technology that appears to be at least 2 generations ahead of current standards. This analyst believes the Corvani Empire has made a critical error in judgment. Additional note, I have never observed such controlled anger in a species. The humans are not panicking. They are not desperate. They are focused. This concerns me greatly." End entry. On Earth, children who had watched their parents die at New Bizon said goodbye to their remaining family and enlisted in the military. Old soldiers who had retired years ago put on their uniforms again. Scientists who had worked on peaceful projects requested transfers to weapons development. An entire species, scattered across 14 star systems, became a single weapon pointed at one target. The Corvani had killed 4 million humans and expected the rest to surrender. Instead, they had united 8 billion people with a single, burning purpose, and that purpose was about to change the galaxy forever. The first strike came without warning. Corvani Supply Station 12 floated in the darkness between stars, a massive structure that processed fuel and food for the Empire's fleets. 3,000 workers lived there, surrounded by cargo ships and transport vessels. It had operated peacefully for 200 years. No enemy had ever come close to it. The Black Fleet arrived at 0300 hours. Station time got 1 moment. The station's sensors showed empty space. The next moment, 50 human warships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the station like wolves around a wounded animal. They did not announce themselves. They did not demand surrender. They simply opened fire. The kinetic accelerators were everything Dr. Beak had promised. Projectiles moving at 40% light speed tore through the station's shields like they were made of paper. The first volley destroyed the station's weapons. The second volley destroyed its engines. The third volley cracked it open like an egg. Escape pods launched in all directions. The human ships did not fire on them. They had come to destroy the station, not to murder workers. When the last pod was clear, the humans finished their work and vanished back into the darkness. The whole attack lasted 7 minutes. Across Corvani space, the same scene repeated itself again and again. Supply stations, communication relays, fuel depots, shipyards. Targets that had been safe for centuries fell in hours. The Black Fleet struck 47 installations in a single week, appearing without warning, destroying everything of military value, and disappearing before the Corvani could respond. Commander Thren received the reports in his command center, each one worse than the last. His fleet was the largest in the Corvani military, 2,000 warships built to crush any enemy. But he could not fight an enemy he could not find. How are they doing this? He demanded of his officers. Our sensors should detect any fleet that size. Unknown, Commander, his tactical officer replied, fear evident in his voice. Their ships produce almost no emissions. They appear to have some form of advanced stealth technology we have never encountered. Thren slammed his fist against his console. He had expected the humans to cower. He had expected them to defend their remaining colonies while begging for mercy. Instead, they had come for him. They were hunting his people in their own space, for the first time in his military career. Commander Thren felt something close to fear. Captain Yuna Kong guided her stealth squadron through the heart of Corvani territory, past defense stations and patrol fleets that never knew she was there. The Nightfall was a ghost, invisible to every sensor the enemy possessed. She had been traveling for 2 weeks, and now she could see her destination on the view screen. The Corvani homeworld dot, it was a massive planet, gray and harsh, orbited by hundreds of defense platforms and thousands of ships. The Corvani had spent millennia making their home into a fortress. No enemy had ever reached it. No enemy had ever tried. Begin detailed scans, Yuna ordered her crew. I want everything. Defense positions, fleet deployments, communication frequencies. Record it all. For 3 days, the Nightfall circled the Corvani homeworld, gathering information that would have been impossible to obtain any other way. Yuna documented every weakness, every gap in their defenses, every pattern in their patrols. She sent the data back to Admiral Park in encrypted bursts that the Corvani never detected, but she was not finished. Open a broadcast channel, she told her communications officer. Wideband. I want every Corvani on that planet to hear this. Her officer hesitated. Captain, that will reveal our position. I know. Do it anyway. The message broadcast across the Corvani homeworld, interrupting every screen and speaker on the planet. Billions of Corvani heard a human voice speaking their language perfectly. Citizens of the Corvani Empire, Yuna said, I am Captain Yuna Kong of the Earth vessel Nightfall. I am currently in orbit around your homeworld. Your defenses did not detect me. Your fleets did not stop me. I am here to deliver a message. She paused, letting the words sink in. Your leaders told you that humanity was weak. They told you that we would fall easily. They told you that the attack on New Bizin would make us surrender. They were wrong. We are not weak. We are not afraid. And we do not forgive. On the surface, High Overlord Veth watched the broadcast with growing fury. A human ship here? At the heart of his empire? Impossible. We did not want this war, Yuna continued. We wanted peace. We wanted to live alongside you in the galaxy. But your overlord chose murder. He chose to kill 4 million innocent people to prove his strength. So now we will prove ours. Not by killing your civilians. We are not like you, but by showing you that nowhere is safe. Your leaders cannot protect you. Your fleets cannot stop us. Think about that when you watch the stars tonight. The transmission ended. By the time the Corvani scrambled fighters to search for her, the Nightfall was gone, vanished back into the darkness between stars. The Battle of Terran was the largest engagement in the history of galactic warfare. Commander Thren gathered every ship he could find. 2,000 warships arranged in a formation that filled the view screen of any vessel that looked upon it. It was a display of overwhelming power, a force that should have crushed any enemy. The Black Fleet met them in the void of Terran, a region of empty space far from any star. Admiral Park had chosen the location carefully. Here, there would be no civilians to worry about. Here, the only thing that mattered was who was stronger. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, enemy fleet outnumbers us 4 to 1. Park nodded calmly. Activate the FTL jammers. No one leaves this place until we allow it. Across the battlefield, Corvani ships suddenly found their faster-than-light drives disabled. An invisible field had trapped them in normal space. They could not run. They could not call for help. They could only fight. Lieutenant Jae-yoon led the 7th Strike Wing into battle, his ghost fighter dancing between enemy ships like a leaf in a storm. The Corvani fighters were larger and more heavily armed, but they were slow. So slow. Jay destroyed 3 of them in his first pass, his weapons cutting through their shields before they could even target him. All wings, focus on their flagship, Jay ordered. Take out their leadership, and the rest will fall apart. The battle raged for 3 days. 3 days of fire and death and desperate courage. The Corvani fought hard, but they were facing weapons they did not understand, tactics they had never seen, and an enemy that simply would not stop. On the 2nd day, Jay led his wing in an attack run against Commander Thren's flagship. It was a massive vessel, bristling with weapons, protected by dozens of escort ships. Any sane pilot would have called the attack suicide. Jay was not feeling sane. He was feeling something older, something darker. He was feeling the rage of a species pushed too far. The 7th Strike Wing lost 12 pilots in that attack, but they disabled the flagship's engines. They crippled its weapons. They turned the most powerful ship in the Corvani fleet into a floating piece of metal. When the battle finally ended, 1,400 Corvani ships were destroyed or disabled. The Black Fleet had lost 89 vessels. Commander Thren was taken alive, pulled from the wreckage of his flagship by human soldiers who treated him with more respect than he had shown the civilians of New Bizen. He was brought before Admiral Park on the bridge of Earth's vengeance. How? Thren demanded, his voice raw with disbelief. We had more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. How did you defeat us? Admiral Park looked at the captured commander for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft, almost gentle. You attacked our children, Park said. You burned our cities. You murdered our families. Did you really think we would fight like everyone else? Did you really think we would follow the same rules that let you conquer half the galaxy? He shook his head slowly. You made a mistake, Commander. You thought we were like other species. We are not. We are humanity. And when you threaten our people, we do not fight to win. We fight to make sure no one ever threatens us again. Thren had no response. News of the Battle of Terran spread across the galaxy within hours. A species that the Corvani had dismissed as prey had destroyed the largest fleet ever assembled. The balance of power had shifted in a single day. And humanity was just getting started. Galactic Council Chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 200 species sat in stunned silence, watching footage from the Battle of Terran play across the massive screens. They saw Corvani warships exploding. They saw the Black Fleet moving with impossible precision. They saw an empire that had dominated the galaxy for millennia brought to its knees in 3 days. Elder Null rose slowly, his translucent body flickering with something that might have been fear. We must discuss intervention, he said, his voice trembling slightly. The humans have become a threat to galactic stability. If they are not stopped now, they may become more dangerous than the Corvani ever were. A murmur ran through the chamber. Species that had never agreed on anything nodded together. The humans scared them. Their technology, their tactics, their cold determination. Everything about them was wrong, unexpected, terrifying. I propose we form a coalition, Null continued. A combined fleet to force humanity back to their original territories. They have made their point. Now they must be contained before. Before what? A new voice interrupted. Every head turned to see Ambassador Sujin Choi walking into the chamber. She had not been invited. She did not care. Before we become too strong? Sujin continued, her heels clicking against the floor as she approached the center of the room. Before we make you as afraid as the Corvani made you? How interesting. A month ago, I stood in this chamber and begged for help. I told you the Corvani were going to murder our people. Do you remember what you said, Elder Null? The ancient being did not respond. You said you could not risk war over border disputes. Border disputes. She let the words hang in the air. 4 million people burned alive, and you called it a border dispute. Now you want to form a coalition against us? To stop us from defending ourselves? The situation has changed, another representative said nervously. Humanity has demonstrated capabilities that threaten the entire. The situation has not changed, Sujin cut him off. We are still the same species we were a month ago. We are still the same people who came to you for help and received nothing. The only thing that has changed is that you have realized we can fight back. And that frightens you. She turned slowly, meeting the eyes of every representative she could see. Let me make something very clear. We did not start this war. We did not want this war. But we will finish it. And if any of you, any single one of you, decides to interfere, you will become our enemy. Not because we want more enemies, but because we have learned a very important lesson from the Corvani. In this galaxy, the only species that survive are the ones that make other species afraid to attack them. She walked toward the exit, then paused at the door. You had the chance to stand with us. You chose to stand aside. Now live with the consequences. The door is closed behind her. The chamber remained silent for a long, long time. Observer Kiva broadcast her documentary to every corner of the galaxy, and billions of beings watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. Her footage showed the Black Fleet in action. Human soldiers advancing across Corvani colony worlds. The burning wreckage of what had been the greatest military force in known space. In 3,000 years of documenting galactic conflicts, Kiva narrated, I have observed a pattern. Species fight for territory, for resources, for pride, for survival. Their methods vary, but their motivations remain consistent. Conquer what you can. Protect what you have. Destroy what threatens you. The footage shifted to show human soldiers helping Corvani civilians evacuate a damaged city. Human medics treating wounded enemy combatants. Human commanders giving orders to preserve infrastructure rather than destroy it. Humanity does not fit this pattern, Kiva continued. They do not seek to conquer the Corvani. They seek to break them. There is a difference. Conquerors want their enemies to kneel. Humanity wants their enemies to never rise again. And yet, they treat civilians with remarkable restraint. They distinguish between soldiers and innocents. This combination of total warfare against military targets and careful protection of non-combatants has never been documented in galactic history. She appeared on screen herself, her ancient face unreadable. I have been asked by many species what I believe will happen. I do not know. What I know is this. The galaxy has never faced a species like humanity. They do not fight like predators. They do not fight like prey. They fight like something else entirely. Something the galaxy has not seen before. Something that perhaps should have remained sleeping. General Hanalim led the ground invasion of 3 Corvani colony worlds. Her soldiers moved with precision, securing military installations and communication centers while leaving civilian areas untouched. It was a strange kind of warfare, surgical and selective, designed to minimize unnecessary death while maximizing military impact. The Corvani defenders were confused. They had been told the humans would slaughter everyone they found, the same way Corvani forces had slaughtered the people of New Bizan. Instead, the humans offered surrender terms to every garrison. Those who surrendered were treated as prisoners of war given food and medical care. Those who fought were destroyed without mercy. Why? A captured Corvani officer asked General Lim during an interrogation. Why do you not kill our civilians? We killed yours. Hannah studied the officer for a moment. He was young, probably fresh out of military training, probably raised on propaganda about human weakness. Because we are not you, she said simply. We did not become soldiers to murder families. We became soldiers to protect our own. Your civilians are not our enemies. Your military is. Your leaders are. When this war ends, your people will remember that humans could have killed them and chose not to. That memory will matter more than any victory. The officer stared at her with something that might have been confusion, or might have been the beginning of understanding. High Overlord Veth received reports from every front, and every report was worse than the last. His supply lines were destroyed. His fleets were scattered. His colonies were falling one by one. The humans had not simply defeated his military. They had dismantled it piece by piece, with a patience and precision that suggested they had been planning this for years. Perhaps they had. He called his remaining commanders to the fortress world of Korvax Prime, the most heavily defended planet in the Empire. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon that could be gathered was summoned to make a final stand. We will hold here, Veth announced to his war council. Let them come. Let them crash against our defenses like waves against a cliff. We have 10,000 years of military tradition. We have weapons they have never seen. We have the strength of a true empire. They may have won battles, but they will not win this war. His commanders nodded, though their eyes showed doubt. On Earth, Admiral Park received intelligence reports from Captain Kong's stealth squadron. He studied the defenses of Korvax Prime, the fleet deployments, the planetary shield generators, the orbital weapons platforms. It was the most heavily fortified position he had ever seen. It will be costly, General Lim said during the strategy session. We could lose a third of our fleet. Maybe more. I know, Park replied. Some are suggesting we negotiate. Accept a peace that gives us what we want without the final battle. The Corvani are already broken. Their empire is crumbling. I know, Park said again. But it is not enough. He looked around the room at his officers, his soldiers, the people who had trusted him to lead them through this war. If we stop now, the Corvani will rebuild. In 50 years or 100, they will come for us again. Our children will face what we are facing now, or our grandchildren. The cycle will continue because we did not have the courage to end it. He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. I will offer Veth surrender terms. Fair terms. His leaders will stand trial for war crimes. The Corvani military will be dismantled. Occupied worlds will be freed. But the civilians will be safe. The culture will survive. It is more than they offered us. And if he refuses? Park's reflection stared back at him from the window, eyes hard and cold. Then we finish this, whatever it costs. Because our people did not die at New Bizen so that their children could face the same fate. We end this war. We end the Corvani threat. We make sure that no one ever thinks about attacking humanity again. He turned to face his officers. Prepare the fleet. We move on Korvax Prime in 72 hours. The final battle was coming, and the galaxy held its breath. The Black Fleet emerged from hyperspace above Korvax Prime, and for a moment, even Admiral Park felt doubt. The Corvani had gathered everything they had left. Thousands of warships filled the space around their fortress world, arranged in defensive formations that had repelled invasions for 10,000 years. Orbital weapons platforms dotted the sky like angry stars. A planetary shield wrapped around the world itself, strong enough to stop any bombardment. Admiral, His tactical officer reported, "Enemy forces outnumber us 3-1. Their defensive grid is fully operational. This will be difficult," Park finished. "Yes, I know. Open a channel to the Corvani flagship." High Overlord Veth appeared on the screen, his scaled face twisted into something between anger and confidence. "So you have come, human. You have come to die against the heart of our empire." "I have come to offer you surrender terms," Park replied calmly. "One final time. You will stand trial for the attack on New Bizan. Your military will be dismantled. The worlds you have conquered will be freed. In return, your people will live. Your culture will survive. No civilians will be harmed." Veth laughed, a harsh sound filled with contempt. "You think I fear you? You have won battles against weakened fleets and undefended stations. Here you face the true might of the Corvani Empire. Here you will be destroyed. And you refuse? I refuse. And when this day is done, I will hang your body from the gates of my palace as a warning to any who would threaten us again." Park nodded slowly. "Very well. I gave you a chance. Remember that, in whatever afterlife your people believe in. You could have saved your empire. You chose pride instead." The transmission ended. Park turned to his bridge crew. "All ships begin attack. No retreat. No surrender. Today we end this war." The Battle of Korvax Prime lasted for 18 hours. 18 hours of fire and death, of ships exploding in silent bursts of light, of pilots fighting until their ammunition ran dry, and then ramming their craft into enemy vessels. Lieutenant Jae-yoon led the 7th Strike Wing against the orbital defense platforms. They had to be destroyed before the ground assault could begin. Each platform was a fortress in itself, bristling with weapons, protected by fighter screens and shield generators. The first platform fell after an hour of fighting. The second took 40 minutes. By the 5th platform, Jay had lost half his wing. By the 8th, he was flying on instinct alone, his body exhausted, his mind focused on one simple thought: keep fighting. "Lieutenant, you have enemy fighters on your tail," his wingman reported. "3 of them." "I can try to—" "Negative," Jay interrupted. "Focus on the platform. I'll handle them." He pulled his ghost into a spin that should have torn the ship apart, coming around behind his pursuers in a move that military academies would study for centuries. 2 of the enemy fighters exploded. The 3rd turned to face him. They fired at the same moment. Jay felt his ship shudder as the enemy's weapons struck home. Alarms screamed. Systems failed. Through the smoke filling his cockpit, he saw the enemy fighter explode from his final shot. "Wing commander to all units," he said, his voice calm despite the damage. "Platform 8 is in range. I'm going to clear a path." "Lieutenant, your ship is—" "I know what my ship is," Jay said. "It has enough left for one more run. Tell my family I did my duty." 7th Wing finished the mission. He pushed his dying ship forward, straight at the platform's main reactor. Corvani weapons fire tore through his hull. Warning lights flashed red, then went dark. In his final moments, Lieutenant Jae-yoon thought about New Bizan, about the 4 million people who had died because the galaxy thought humanity was weak. His ship struck the reactor at full speed. Platform 8 exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the surface of the planet below. The 7th Strike Wing completed their mission. They destroyed every orbital platform, and they never forgot the pilot who made it possible. Captain Yuna Kong led the ground assault. Her stealth squadron had found a weakness in the planetary shield, a small gap created by power fluctuations in one of the generators. It was just large enough for a single transport to slip through. She led a strike team of 50 soldiers through that gap, landing in the shadow of the shield generator itself. They had one job: disable the generator and open a hole in the planetary defenses. The fighting was brutal. Corvani soldiers defended the generator with everything they had. Yuna lost 30 of her 50 soldiers in the first 10 minutes. But they kept pushing, kept fighting, kept moving forward. When she finally reached the control room, only 8 soldiers remained. She planted the explosives herself, while her team held the door against waves of enemy reinforcements. "Captain, we can't hold much longer," her sergeant reported. "You don't have to," Yuna replied, arming the final charge. "Get to the extraction point. I'll be right behind you." She was not right behind them. She stayed to make sure the explosives detonated, fighting off Corvani soldiers until the charges blew. The shield generator collapsed. A massive section of the planetary shield failed, and the Black Fleet poured through the gap like water through a broken dam. General Hana Lim led the assault on the Imperial Palace. Her soldiers fought through streets filled with debris and enemy troops, advancing block by block toward the massive structure where High Overlord Veth waited. The palace guard fought with desperate courage. They knew that if they failed, their empire would fall. But General Lim had brought soldiers who had spent a century preparing for this moment. Soldiers who had watched their families die at New Bizen. Soldiers who would not stop until the job was done. The final door fell at midnight, Korvax time. General Lim walked into the throne room with her rifle raised, surrounded by the survivors of her assault team. High Overlord Veth sat on his throne, alone, his guards dead around him. "It is over," Lim said. "Surrender." Veth looked at her with eyes full of hatred. How did you do, Tich? You are insects. You are nothing. How did you destroy everything we built?" Lim lowered her rifle. "We did not destroy what you built. We destroyed what you used against us. Your fleets. Your weapons. Your ability to threaten anyone ever again." She paused. "You will stand trial for what you did to our people. You will face justice. But your civilization will survive. Your children will grow up in a galaxy where the Corvani are no longer feared, but no longer enslaved either. It is more mercy than you showed us." Veth was taken into custody. The Corvani Empire fell. 6 months later, Ambassador Sujin Choi stood before the Galactic Council one final time. The chamber was full, every species represented, every eye focused on the small human woman who had once begged them for help and been refused. "The war is over," she announced. "The Corvani military has been dismantled. High Overlord Veth and his commanders have been tried and convicted of crimes against humanity. The worlds they conquered have been freed. The threat they posed to the galaxy is ended." She paused, looking around at the beings who had abandoned her people in their darkest hour. "Humanity did not want this war. We wanted peace. We wanted cooperation. We wanted to be your partners in building a better galaxy. You chose to let us burn. You chose neutrality while our children died." Her voice hardened. "We will not forget. But we are not conquerors. We are not tyrants. We have no interest in ruling other species or dominating the galaxy. What we want is simple. We want to be left alone. We want to rebuild. We want to raise our children in safety." She lifted her chin. "The war has taught us a lesson. The galaxy does not protect the weak. The galaxy does not reward the peaceful. The galaxy respects only strength. So we will be strong. We will extend our hand in friendship to any species that wants it. We will trade, cooperate, build together. But know this, if anyone ever threatens our people again, we will not wait for help that will never come. We will not beg for mercy from species that have none. We will do what we did to the Corvani. We will end the threat, completely, permanently, whatever it takes. She turned and walked toward the exit, then stopped. One last thing. Some of you are afraid of us now. Good. Fear keeps people polite. Just remember, we do not want enemies. We want friends. The choice of which we become is yours. The doors closed behind her. The galaxy had changed forever. Observer Kiva completed her documentary and broadcast it to every corner of known space. Her final words became the most quoted passage in galactic history. I have watched civilizations for 3,000 years, she said, her ancient voice soft and thoughtful. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have documented wars that shaped the galaxy and peace that healed it. But I have never witnessed what I witnessed in humanity. Images played behind her. The ruins of New Bizan. The Black Fleet emerging from hiding. The final battle above Korvax Prime. Human soldiers helping Corvani civilians in the aftermath. They were pushed to the edge of extinction. They watched 4 million of their people burn. And instead of breaking, they became something the galaxy had never seen. Not conquerors. Not destroyers. Not victims. They became something far more dangerous. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of millennia. Survivors. On the rebuilt surface of New Bizan, Dr. Minho Beek stood among the monuments to the fallen. 4 million names carved in stone, surrounded by gardens that bloomed with flowers from every human world. Admiral Park joined him. Older now, retired to a quiet life he had never expected to live. They stood in silence for a long moment. 2 men who had helped save their species. Was it worth it? Minho asked finally. Everything we did. Everything we became. Park considered the question carefully. I don't know, he admitted. I know we survived. I know our children will grow up in a galaxy that will never dare attack them. I know the people we lost would have wanted that. He paused. Whether it was worth it? That's for history to decide. 100 years later, humanity led the Galactic Council. Not through conquest, but through the respect that came from that terrible war. Species that had once dismissed them as insects now sought their alliance. Old enemies became trading partners. The galaxy slowly healed Dot, and in every corner of known space, a saying took root. Parents whispered it to children. Soldiers spoke it before battle. Politicians repeated it when tensions rose between species. Let the humans sleep. For when they wake, the stars themselves tremble, Dot. It was a warning. It was a promise. It was the truth. Humanity had been provoked. The galaxy had watched them go all out. And no one would ever make that mistake again.